All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cooperating Raleigh College's third professional development workshop in our mini-series. My name is Mara DeCola. I'm the Executive Director for Cooperating Raleigh Colleges, and we are thrilled that you're joining us today. Our presenter today is Ms. Pat Gaddy, who serves as the Staff Senate Chair and Assistant to the Assistant Vice Chancellor at North Carolina State University. Ms. Gaddy may look familiar as she's presented at the CRC Professional Development Conference in the summer of 2020 with her very popular session, How to Stay Motivated in Reaching Your Goals. CRC is thrilled to be able to provide professional development opportunities to our members and our institution staffs. We hope that you leave today with some great ideas and motivation in this challenging semester. The coronavirus pandemic has dramatically altered the workplace. Many companies have shifted to remote work and video calls, Zoom meetings and instant messaging replacing meetings and breakout room conversations. The lack of encounters with coworkers could stifle creativity and reduce team cohesion. School closures, meanwhile, have placed an extra burden on working parents. Amid the upheaval, how do we work, live, and thrive? This workshop will provide tips and strategies for your continued success to work remotely in this new normal. Today, please feel free to use the chat function to talk with your colleagues, to add questions or comments throughout the event. At the end, we will open it up to a Q&A session, and there is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, so please feel free to use that to submit questions to Ms. Gaddy, and I will facilitate those for her. And so there is no better way, I think, to spend a rainy Tuesday morning than some professional development. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pat Gaddy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mara. I am honored to have been invited back today to facilitate this workshop. Now, first, let me just put this disclaimer out there. I am not here because I'm an expert. I'm here because Cooperative Raleigh Colleges stand on the platform that encourages professionals at all points in their careers to share information and resources that might be of value for can't even talk, it's raining, for professional development. So I thank them today for extending to me this invitation. As you know, the title of my workshop today is Working Together While Working from Home. Now, a lot of things you hear today will just be reminders, as I'll probably just say them a different way. I may put a different flavor on it, but my hopes is that many of the tips we talk about today, you can use post-COVID. So thank you all for joining us today on this rainy afternoon. And I promise you, unless you have lots of questions and comments, this workshop will not last an hour. Now, we know that the coronavirus pandemic has greatly changed the workplace, but even more important, it has altered, or in some cases, transformed our lives. The saying, what happens at home shows up at work, has never been more true, because for the majority of us, our home is our work. And that in itself presents an unprecedented challenge to the world of work. So why do I say that? Because now being productive includes adapting to a new environment, battling a new set of distractions, as well as experiencing an unparalleled blending of work and private life. Since this pandemic, many of us have had our circumstances change. I find myself working remotely, managing my team, and at the same time, my 7-year-old granddaughter is studying from home. We share an office. Some of us have elderly parents that we take care of, whether it's getting the groceries, doctor appointments, or making sure that they're okay. And some of you, like me, you have children or grandchildren at home. Some of you have to oversee their schoolwork. And these circumstances will put constraints on how and when we work. And I believe, though, that we should not look at these burdens. We should not look at these situations as burdens or annoyances, but rather a privilege to care for the ones that we love. But how? How do you stay motivated to keep going on in this new normal, in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of this crisis? How do we work together while working from home? How amid the upheaval? How do we work? How do we live? And how do we strive? I want to start today with one word that I hope will set the tone for whatever else you receive today. Optimism. What is optimism? Optimism is hopefulness and confidence about the future or the successful outcome of something. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Optimism is a thought that says things will improve. It won't always be bleak. And there's a way to rise above the present circumstances. Understand that circumstances will come along, hint, hint, this pandemic, and sometimes force us to readjust our life. Can I be real with you this morning? Sometimes things will happen that will rock your world. In other words, life happens. And oftentimes during times like this, we want to give up because we begin to lose hope. In these difficult and uncertain times, I want to inspire and even encourage you today to not lose hope. Listen, I know it's lasting way, way longer than we expected. It's lasting way longer. But today, I want to give you hope in these difficult and uncertain times. I want to inspire and even encourage you. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. And after everything we've gone through, I heard some of you asking yourself today, and you're even wondering, is there any reason to be hopeful? Is there any reason to be optimistic? Yes, there is. There will be an after this. Stay strong. Listen, strength doesn't come from what you can do. Strength comes from overcoming the things you thought you couldn't do. Now, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start from where you are and change the ending. And that's what I want to talk about today. Steps we can take to enhance our work from home experience. And as we move toward the ending that's definitely in sight, remember the 3 B's. Remember the 3 B's. Be compassionate. Have empathy for your staff and your coworkers. In other words, try walking a mile in someone else's shoes. Every one of us is impacted in some form or fashion by the crisis caused by COVID-19 pandemic. And everyone is inclusive of the global community. This isn't to say that all of the impacts are uniform or evenly distributed. While we may all be experiencing the same storm, we are not all in the same boat. So it is important, as I like to say, to walk a mile in my shoes. Now, what does that mean? To walk a mile in someone else's shoes means before judging someone, you must understand his or her experiences, their challenges, their thought process, and etc. The full idiom is a quote that I heard by Billy Connolly. Before you judge a man, walk a mile in his shoes. I'm talking about empathy. What is empathy? The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy is critical to caring for your employees and keeping them engaged during this time. So what am I saying? Think about what's going on in someone else's world, and then be aware. Consider some of the ways that the pandemic has affected your life. Are you working from home? Are your kids out due to school closures? Do you have plenty of food in your pantry and freezer? Now think about how others might answer those same questions depending on their situation and circumstances. Some people are worried about how to find childcare as they continue to work. And many may be struggling to find or pay for basic necessities. Empathy and understanding are a critical part of compassion and, more importantly, action. Think of others within your work group and look for ways that you can help. And then be considerate. Sometimes we may be quick to criticize others without making the effort to understand how their situation and experiences are impacting their choices. Yes, it's easy to lob criticism at others in a time of crisis, especially those who don't seem to be taking the situation seriously. Try to remember that everyone copes differently. Although empathy is always important, it is especially vital as we work remotely. And again, it is important to remember that everyone is in this together. Think of others, reach out however you can, and remember to ask for help if you need it. So I hear you saying, I get this. I get being compassionate. I get being aware. I even get being considerate. But what about my professional, my personal motivation? Talk to me today about my self-motivation. Talk to me about self-motivation. How do we personally stay motivated? The first thing is guard your mindset. Check your thoughts. Dr. Kelly Vinson, a licensed clinical psychologist, said fear feeds off of negative thoughts and beliefs. So try reframing your thoughts to manage your emotions better. For example, you might say, this is a scary time right now, but I choose to focus on what I can control. And writing down positive affirmations right when you wake up or before going to bed can also be very powerful in rewiring your mindset. And then make time. You got to make time for self-care. When stress rises, it is easy for us to let go of our positive self-care practices, our prioritizes over activities, how we prioritize activities, like work and household chores. Yet this is a time we ought to practice self-care the most. Remember, just because you do not have the office break room doesn't mean you can't take a break. Let me repeat that. Just because you do not have the office break room doesn't mean you can't take a break. So carve out some time for yourself every day to do something that makes you feel good, whether it's journaling, reading a book, playing with your pet, or listening to music. Also, don't forget the critical self-care activities like eating healthy, getting adequate sleep, and regular physical activity. And here is one of my favorites, my most favorite self-care habit. Stay close to what I like to call my vitamin people. What are vitamin people? These are those who inject you with energy. These are those who encourage you. These are those who inspire you. These are those who listen to you, who help to make you a better person. And practice gratitude. Gratitude. Someone is asking, practice gratitude? What do you mean? How do we practice gratitude during this pandemic? Let me be clear. I am not advocating for expressing gratitude instead of any feelings of pain, sadness, anxiety, confusion, or any other legitimate experience you may be currently having. But I'm making a pitch for you to practice gratitude in addition to these things. Expressing gratitude can deepen our ability to feel genuine appreciation in many, many more contexts. You ask, what is gratitude? Robert Emmons defines gratitude as the ability to recognize the goodness in your life, whether it's due to your surroundings, as well as the actions of another person or a group of people. Being grateful is a virtuous quality that allows you to not only see the best in other people, but also in your own life. Listen, gratitude doesn't have to be over the top or something significant. You can start small by taking a few moments to notice things that are going well in your life. To help make this a regular habit, set aside short time each day to intentionally, on purpose, practice gratitude. In fact, being thankful for something as small as a hot cup of coffee on a sunny day. You can even tell someone you appreciate them, whether it's a thumbs up in a Zoom meeting or a simple statement during a telephone call. Letting someone know you are grateful for them not only improves your mood, but it works wonders on their mood as well. Actually, let us do this little exercise right now. And you can just drop it in the chat. I know we are beyond a year in this pandemic, but what are some things that you are grateful for right now? I want you, don't think about yesterday, don't think about months ago, think about today. Think about right now, on the spot gratitude. Just pop in the chat anything that you are grateful for today. Anything. Having a job, my family, having a job, this new job. Wow, family and friends, grateful for rainy days, my health, being able to work from home. Yes, gratitude, gratitude. And we can go on and on. Thank you all so much. There is so much to be grateful for. And then accept that we are not in control. Now, I admit this is a tough one for me. But unless there's something someone's not telling us, we have no control over when we'll be able to move freely again without worrying about COVID-19. Janine Reed, the author of The Opposite of Certainty, Fear, Faith, and Life in Between, says this: accept that we have no control or very limited control. Be present in the moment and start worrying about the future. Yes, I know it's tempting to let your mind wander into what if, worst case scenarios. But what if you set time limits on being in that space of anxiety? Allow yourself to be aware and speak to and acknowledge that you do have these fears of the future. However, pull yourself back into the facts of what is right now. Today is today. And this is what we can focus on because this is what we know. Stay in the moment. Stay in the moment. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, Reed says to be where your feet are. What does that mean? That means to literally stop. Be right here, right now. I'm sitting at my desk. I know the sun is shining. In this case, I know it's raining, but that's good. I've got a hot cup of coffee. I'm talking to some nice people. I'm okay. My fears aren't happening right now. A potent piece of advice much used in counseling, is that you cannot change what has happened, but you can change how you think about it. We can change how we respond to any issue. We have control over how we allow it to affect us. And do not forget to disengage at the end of the day. Do not forget, this is critical, to disengage at the end of the day. Sometimes working from home leads to working long until you burn out. One of my colleagues was telling me that during the first and second week working from home, they were forgetting to take their lunch break. They were getting a lot of work done, but they realized that this was not very good for their own mental health. So we need to understand that structure is important. It is something that gives us a frame for our day, a plan to return to, not if, but when we get off track. Structure. And then find your third space. This has really helped me. If you're new to working remotely, chances are that you love not having a commute. But one of the benefits of a commute is that it's a transition between your work and personal life, during which you can let go of the stresses of the workday and get ready to transition to your non-work activities. The third space acts as a bridge between work and home relaxation. It helps prepare you for the mental shift you need to go from employee to parent, to spouse, to partner or friend. And it enables you to show up in your personal life calm, present, and ready to roll. When working from home, though, it's easy to skip this transition entirely. After all, the work from home office to your living room likely isn't going to cut it when it comes to clearing your mental palette. You can easily build in a third space transition to your day by creating a commute. Take a daily after work mind cleansing drive or walk to a park or your local coffee shop. Working out, going to the gym before a run outside gives you an outlet for any pent up stress and time to decompress. Taking your dog for a walk. When you've been inside all day, your furry friend probably has been too and will appreciate the fresh air. Now, if physically leaving your house and workspace isn't possible, then practice mindfulness, simply taking a few minutes to meditate, do yoga, listen, quieting your mind can be a calming transition. Whatever you choose, avoid throwing yourself immediately into household chores after your workday, unless that relax you. A peaceful, grounding activity at the end of your day will help you refocus your brain. So we talked about the 3 B's. We talked about personal motivation. Let's talk about keeping your team motivated. Managers, supervisors, I believe to continue working efficiently and creating value under these new circumstances, we need to understand, accept, and support our employees' specific situations and needs. Communicate regularly. We are all social beings. Check in frequently and be proactive. In the absence of face-to-face conversations, communicating thoroughly, effectively, and with respect is key to working remotely. And to let them know how you appreciate them. Telling people you appreciate them builds community connection. I know this message is being repeated in many different ways right now, but it's a message worth repeating, especially during this period of being apart physically from many family, friends, co-workers, schoolmates, and even acquaintances. It is important to keep the bridges we do have to others intact. Managers, we need to make sure that we're not only working with employees to ensure the right infrastructure is in place and the right technology, but also the way you set up expectations, processes, and prioritizes. If we remote workers, if we lack the right tools or access to information, we may feel disconnected, disorganized, and disengaged. If we remote workers lack the right tools or access to information, we may feel disconnected, disorganized, and disengaged. But guess what? How many of you know that the best that we try to do, conflict may still arise? How do you deal with virtual conflict? Now, we know any sort of conflict in the office setting is guaranteed to damage your productivity. And the effects don't end there. Conflict makes people unhappy, and the damage it does can overwhelm every other aspect of the work environment. So having regular team meetings, if you can't physically meet face-to-face, video conferences, create the space and time for people to voice concerns. Listen carefully and let the employee tell their story. Try to be as objective as possible and set aside any biases you may have, and have a shared workspace online. Let your team share Google Docs, research files, tasks, notes, and anything else related to your project. And take advantage of the conflict resolution workshops at your institutions or companies. And finally, for all of us, remember what's important. One of the most important things about working from home is that we get the job done. And the blessing about working from home is that we have flexibility on how this can happen. But what's more important to remember is that even though we are not physically present with our coworkers, our supervisor, our managers, we are still a vital part of contributing to the work of our organization. And then lastly, don't forget to reflect, to recall things that happened over the past year, what you experienced and how you felt. For me, 2020, the year that taught us to minimize, to improvise, to compromise. 2020, the year we slowed down, we paused, we realized that we could do without. Our celebrations were muted, understated, but no less joyous. 2020, we cried, we mourned because of deaths, for job losses, for social justice. 2020, the year injustices were even more pronounced. Economic disparity, social disparity, racial disparity, age disparity. We worried about our seniors. We worried about the age, them being alone and isolated. We worried about the youth. Could their young minds handle all that was being thrown at them? And then we collected ourselves. We adjusted. We empathized. We sympathized. We stepped up and stepped in where needed. We reached out. 2020 is behind us. And here we are in 2021 with hopes and yes, some apprehension. But I've learned that my past does not have to dictate my future. As we wrap up this morning, have faith, trust the process, and turn your belief over to something higher than yourself. As we transition through these times, we keep our hope. Listen, those who keep their hope strong during trying times are blessed with that hope carrying them through these times. I want to end this presentation with a question. You do not need to answer this today, but I want you to think about it as you reflect back. When you later look back at this time during COVID-19, when you look back at your journey, and I'm talking about post-COVID, I'm talking about after this, what do you hope to recall? As you look back over 2020, what do you hope to recall? Thank you. And now I will entertain any questions or any comments. Anything you want to pop in the chat, feel free.
Please feel free to use the chat function or the Q&A function. I'm going to facilitate some questions to Ms. Pat. And you can also feel free to use the chat to talk to one another.
Someone said they love the thought of the third space. That has really worked for me. That third space.
What is one thing that you would like to keep that you learned from COVID-19, Ms. Pat?
I think one thing that I would like to keep from COVID-19 is the closeness and the connections that I made with all of those in my inner circle. When I had to when I was forced to be in the house, not go outside, just the relationship, the bond, the closeness that I was able to get with my family and those in my inner circle.
Ms. Pat, how do you foresee companies transitioning towards remote work in the future?
You know what? My hope is that we've learned so much since a year ago, since this first hit. I think we've learned that there needs to be two options. I think there needs to be the working from home option. Working remotely, it's a tool and it has worked. It's been valuable. So I'm hoping that after this, as we move into our new normal, that working from home, working remotely would still be a valuable tool that we use.
This presentation will be available later. It has been recorded and we will share it on the CRC YouTube channel and our website, and it'll be sent to all registered attendees. Ms. Pat, how do you see the transition when we do get to after this to transition back to in-person work? Do you foresee challenges with so many of us having worked from home?
You know what? There can be, but like I said earlier, if you guard your mindset, you need to think about how you will be when you get back in the office, and you work on that. You remember I said you work on things that you can control. You can't control how other people will react. You can't control how they will be, but you can control how you will be when you walk back into the office setting. You're going to be different. You're going to be a new person. You've been through so much. You're going to be even more grateful. You know what? You're going to be thankful. And I know for some, it may be hard to believe, but for some, you're going to be thankful just to be able to get back in the office. And one good reason for that is you made it. You made it. There have been so many that didn't make it, but you made it. And I think this time, if it's taught us nothing else, to forget about the trivia stuff and think about what's important. So you change your mindset, how you going to act when you walk back into the office.
Absolutely. A question came in. How do you engage with others who seem to have withdrawn?
I think you need to engage. For me, if that's personally for me, I engage with them with a personal, positive attitude. I don't feed into their depression or the downness. I try to bring them out of it by encouraging them and saying positive things. Now, one thing, if someone is withdrawn, if someone is depressed, two withdrawn and depressed people will not work. So you need to make sure that you'll be the one that's upbeat. You'll be the one that's optimistic. You'll be the one that would encourage them to try to pull them out of their place of depression, to pull them out of being withdrawn and taken aback.
Are there any other questions? How do we best serve our students that will return to in-person connection with instructors? Do you return directly to business as usual? And do you think that we can benefit from flex working?
I think we can benefit from flex working. Do you return directly to business as usual? I think a lot of that depends on your campus and your institution and the things that they have put in place. But I think that we have to be able to serve our students when we get back into the workplace. We have to be able to connect with our students, connect with the instructors, those of you that work in the academic environment. So I think for me, you would need to work closely with your own personal institution, human resources, and all the campus community activities that they have in place. But I do think we can benefit from flex working, yes.
Ms. Pat, how do you tell those managers that the world is not ran by them?
How do you tell the managers that the world is not ran by them? If you want to keep your job, you don't just walk up and tell them that. So my suggestion is that you reach out within your own institution to your personnel, the personnel office, my mind just went blank, but reach out to your human resources about best practices for talking with a manager that may not understand, or manager that may not get it. Because all of our institutions have great human resources departments that are there to help you, to guide you through getting back to this unnormal place. So please make sure that you tap in to each one of your human resources departments on campus. Employee relations, that's what I was trying to get to. Reach out to your employees relations department in your institution, and they're happy to walk through with you. Mm-hmm. Are there any other comments or questions? I like this last comment. I've seen so many comments. Thank you all so much. Much needed reminder. Sometimes we forget all the things we have to be grateful for when there are so many difficult things are happening around us. So if you get nothing else from this today, everything that we're going through, we're in it together. And as bad as it seems, there will be an after this. Just hang in there and don't give up. And all the positive things that you've learned during the COVID-19 pandemic, put it into practice when we go post-COVID. Put it into practice. Don't leave it behind. Take it with you.
Well, Ms. Pat, I want to tell you thank you so much on behalf of Cooperating Raleigh Colleges. It is always a pleasure to have you come and present for us, and I don't think that it will be the last time that we see Ms. Pat Gaddy, and I hope that it is not. I will tell you that you are one of my vitamin people in motivation and encouragement, so we hope to see you come and present with us again, and we appreciate all that you do. Cooperating Raleigh Colleges will be continuing to offer the mini series throughout the rest of this year. We do not plan to stop offering any of these mini workshops. We also do plan on having our traditional summer workshop just in a virtual setting. So keep an eye out for newsletters from me. If you're not on our newsletter, please feel free to email me at director@crcraleighcolleges.org, and I'm happy to make sure that you're on the list to receive the CRC newsletter every month. And keep an eye out for some more amazing events. We do have a session coming up in just a few weeks in May that will be launching in just a bit. So I will be sending out a survey to everyone who attended with us today. Please let us know what you thought and any suggestions for topics moving forward. And we will also have the recorded version of this session on our website, and I'll have it sent in an email to everyone at a later time this week. So thank you so much, Ms. Pat. Thank you to all of our attendees. We appreciate having you, and we hope to see you again in May.
Mara, I have one last slide, just one last comment as we leave out. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Just one last comment. If we can just go to the very last slide, if I could leave this with you today. I encourage you starting today. Don't wait till tomorrow and forget about what happened prior to today. But starting today, I want you to begin breaking patterns in your life that no longer serve you. Give yourself permission to pause and reflect today. And remember, taking care of yourself doesn't mean me first. It means me too. Thank you all so much for joining in today, and I hope you enjoy the remainder of your day. Thank you so much. Thank you.